Well, yeah, and last thing I'll say as we wrap up here is that another thing that came up during those recent private conversations with some of the patriots, the constitutionalists, the people who believe in what I personally consider to be a hypothetically limited government, especially because they won't set up committees of safety like the founders did. But that's a discussion for another time, another topic, which actually is something I do care about. The fact that they're not doing that because they don't have any integrity anymore, they'd rather hump the Trump. Is that another thing that was said in those private conversations is that I'm going to paraphrase. And this was actually a different occasion, if I don't like America with Trump as our president, then I should get up and leave. And in response, I said something to the effect of, you know what, I have a better idea. How about Trump and his billionaire Wall Street friends and his redneck trailer trash follower morons leave America while I stay on this continent. How about that, huh? And obviously, as you can kind of guess, I got hung up on real quick. So yeah, they don't like it.
And there's so many things we could. We'll have to pick up on it next time because I think we should do this like on a regular basis. There's a growing number of people looking for independent views in this whole Trump thing. The problem is they don't know that we're here. So the people listening can actually help people find podcasts like this. Maybe someone could be an assistant to help get these on YouTube, iTunes. But there's something more I want to say. There's a guy named Milo out there. I think he came up at least once in conversation. I'm not sure. The guy looks like a metrosexual. Maybe I've said it during the break. I think I did. So this metrosexual-looking dude, whether or not he has gay inclinations, I think he made a documentary or something. He's been prominent in the whole white genocide thing, and the guy looks like a freak. And I think the point I was trying to make was immigrants isn't his problem. Milo's problem is Milo. He's a freak. Have you guys Googled this guy? And I'm not big on making fun of people, but it's very clear that the dude had this metrosexual obsession with his physical appearance and his hair and kind of this whole urban space alien thing.
Hold on. Are you talking about Milo Yiannopoulos?
He's the only Milo I know. I don't know of any more Milos. If there's any other Milos, I never heard of him.
He's definitely part of the so-called alt-right. He's a senior editor for Breitbart News.
He's like a granddaddy or he's propped up as a leader by the media because the media won't shut up about him. So the media is making sure I know who Milo is every fucking 5 seconds. See, no one seems to recognize how to read the media and how they promote people. And all the media has done is tell me about Milo for a year now. I don't know how to say his last name.
I can't either.
It does not sound American, okay? For a guy who's anti-immigrant, Milo's last name don't sound American enough to me.
Actually, it's funny you should mention that. Hold on. That's a good point you brought up. Just as a matter of fact, he actually is a British citizen who tours the country here, going to college campuses and such.
British influence. So there's Alex Jones talking about fighting the British and you guys, blah, blah, blah. And they're all pointing the finger at Britain and playing that whole game a few years ago. And yet they're taking their talking points from, this far-right movement that's spreading like a virus. Of course, I pick up on things intuitively, and I see them happen, by the way, after we do these podcasts. I know that sounds crazy, but it's real. So I need to keep mentioning these things as they happen. The French election and the far-right blonde lady, the beautiful Aryan, no one's attacking a particular type of genetics from Europe, the blonde hair, blue eyes. It's this, and I see it, Kyle, the Aryan racial supremacy is back in magazines and in TV. And this is the most offensive thing to say to the alt-right people. But it's back with a vengeance.
Right. And of course, anybody, and then of course,
on magazines, the beautiful hot chick, beautiful white skin, blonde. And not only that, they propagandize. We can go longer, but we should, but we have to mention this. So my Mexican friend Angel, who lives in Houston, Telemundo's been doing this to the Mexicans for a long time, with even fake channelers and psychics with beautiful blonde hair. And they've been fucking with those people to believe that they're lesser than. So I don't want to go David Icke on the audience, But it's like there are things that he's talked about that seem to make sense with potentially certain type of genetics that may be tied in with these blue bloods or these lines of royalty. And there seems to be like a deeper agenda why they want to create the white genocide hysteria. I'll pause there. But it definitely doesn't seem to be random. It seems coldly calculated with a rise in far-right politics in both the West and Europe. Oh, yes, with the upcoming election of this lady in France who just came to meet Donald Trump. I'm not sure what her name is. But what I'm saying is they're like spreading the same type of nationalism in both Europe and the United States based on the perception that the outside barbarians are coming in to rape their daughters and change the color of their children. This is more sophisticated than Nazi Germany, which is why this is starting to concern me. I mean, I don't know if you're a historian or have done any research on Nazi Germany, but I'm pretty sure Facebook wasn't around, and I'm pretty sure it was much more incremental and slow. Yeah, again, we've had some time since 9/11, haven't we, for things to build up to here? Because 9/11 to 2017, that's a full, that's 16 years.
At least, yeah.
Yeah, so we've had an extended period of time before our Reichstag fire, and just like the female European in the UK that messaged me about, being surrounded by a bunch of, God, it sounds so offensive to say the word white, but surrounded by 5 white boys when she was 10, and they push her back and forth, calling her kafar or something like that, which is like a racial slur in their region or wherever she is or wherever she's from. That's horrible. I've never had anybody do that to me. So I really worry about a lot of, there really is a lot of hate towards the female minority. I don't think I've said that once in this podcast. There is so much hate building towards the female minority that could, for a second, be confused as a social justice warrior. How dare they, brown faces, have signs in today's city? So, I mean, in Nazi Germany, did they have Facebook to say, round them up and deport them to a foreign island? They didn't have that much time to propagandize the population. They just did it, I guess. And then I guess Alex Jones has been talking about Nazi Germany since he got started, hasn't he? And saying Nazi Germany.
He doesn't talk, and he doesn't talk about the National Socialists in Germany anymore. That's something else I've noticed too. Not one word.
You mean it's diminished?
No, it's gone. No, I'm saying it's gone. At most, he'll make a couple references to the Russian communists or whatever, but not one word about the National Socialist Germany. Not one word.
See, and this guy Alex Jones made a documentary called American Dictators, 2004, where he talked about John Kerry and Bush being skull and bones, and in that he calls Schwarzenegger a active Nazi, citing belt buckles and rings. Okay. Here we have, for whatever reason, Laura Ingraham doing what looks like a Sikh hell, to be honest with you, and others that are supporting Donald Trump. And it's like, in a world where people are concerned about like Sandy Hook and actors, wow, what I'm seeing are people playing a role to where they're showing just enough signs to where others that freak out about that symbolism are going to see that symbolism and go, holy shit, we've got a Nazi problem. We've never had a Nazi problem. I mean, Bush did a little of that. He hinted at it. And then Jordan Maxwell talked about the fasci. They're fascists. They got the fasci. And then there's, if I haven't mentioned it yet, yeah, Jordan Maxwell is also humping the Trump.
Ooh, him too, huh?
He completely avoided the question when Richie Allen asked him. Because Richie Allen I think is kind of he's another douchebag, but in his reporting the post-Trump, it's almost as if some people in the UK get it more than Americans because they're not being hit with the same mind control. But some people in the UK can obviously see that Donald Trump is a living, walking deceiver who is no different than the last administration.
Well, yeah.
I mean, a lot of people in the UK can see it, whereas they're not under the same type of spell. Maybe they're not being hit with the same type of mind control, subliminal sleep. They have a different version, apparently. It could really just be that simple. But what's really weird is that there are people that look like there are relatives of Donald Trump in Europe in politics today, though. There are people, that have gone in some really extreme conspiracy directions, suggesting that Obama is a clone. People like Freeman Fly. And people really dig that stuff up. Oh yeah, the black guy's a fucking clone of a European. When it comes to Donald, they won't touch any conspiracy regarding this dude. But it's like he's got other people that look like they're in his family that are running the far right side in Europe that look like they are literally his brother or sister. And I just thought I would put that out there, that the bloodline that Donald Trump seems to be emerging in politics. Kyle, look closer, and we can probably put a map of them together. And they look like they're of the family tree. So it's not just the Bush line. There are other lines of royalty, whether people think they come from this line. We're not going to go in extreme directions, but this is somewhat provable that there is some sort of a royal bloodline behind a lot of these elected leaders. And I'm just saying that the Trump line, whatever that is, whoever that is, seems to be emerging in the West.
Well, yeah, and like the phrase goes, presidents are selected, not elected, and with the case of the U.S. presidency in particular, that is explicitly true because it's the Electoral College, not the American electorate in terms of the popular vote. It is the Electoral College, as enumerated in the federal Constitution, that actually chooses the president literally, and it's constitutional. So all these,
Right.
all these folks of various flavors or others who think that we elected our Trump and all this kind of language actually know, if you're going to blame anybody, blame the electors within the Electoral College, because they were the ones that made the coercively binding political decision as enumerated in the Constitution. That's what actually happens.
So the last thing I'm also going to say is that given my geopolitical forecast that Trump's actually going to lead us to more of a conflict, and that he's really doing things to destroy America by design. It's about making America less safe for white people. That's what makes my criticism very different than what other people call libtards, because they're not intellectuals. They're not able to actually discern between what it is that I'm saying and what it is the protesters are saying. There are aspects of today's protester that's going to blame all white people for the actions of Donald Trump. That is essentially a conspiracy organized. Kyle, take note. We have to do a separate podcast on this because I don't think people are getting it. There is a conspiracy against white people to use people like Donald Trump to create anger and dangerous urban situations, as far as someone's wife or girlfriend being sexually assaulted by a gang that is being propagandized by the media that's actually working with Trump, not against Trump. See, this is not something, Kyle, that I think the protesters are thinking about. That they're not even really exposing Donald Trump for what he is. They're just amping people up and getting them angry enough and putting out a message that maybe like this is like the new America, like this is the new racism. This is they're even openly talking about Nazis in the media, how this is comparable to Hitler. And even though you and I just said that, they're not doing it for the purpose of waking people up to what's going on. They're actually putting people into, oh my God, so they literally are all Nazis, all the people that voted for Trump. And see, what we're noting is that the people that voted for Trump, some of them are so dumb that they don't realize that he is representing a real white supremacist system or leading them into a trap. That he's not really going to end the Fed, that he's not going to expose 9/11. He's not the fucking, he's not anti-globalism. I mean, how much further do I have to go? He's not really going to be a friend of Putin. That he's fucking us all. And so you're going to have like a backlash that the media is going to like amplify to where they're going to make it seem to like these angry people as they go poor in the next few years that white people did it. Shit, I said the same thing about Obama, but the reverse. They're going to make it look like a black guy did it. They're going to make it look like a black guy did it. That's my past prophecy. They're going to make it look like a black guy did it. Now,
well, yeah,
and like a white guy did it. They're making it look like a white guy did it. They're making it look like a white guy did it, and like putting a dog's nose in shit. They're going to keep hitting it with a baton and say a white guy did this to you, a fucking white guy did this to you, and they won't admit it. Donald Trump is setting them up to be hurt We have to just schedule a separate podcast. These people at least need to hear the message. Donald Trump is setting them up to be beat up in the street for being a Trump supporter. That's literally consciously what Donald Trump is doing to them.
Well, yeah.
And Alex Jones. That's why Alex is walking with security, because there's more than enough people looking for Alex Jones to hurt him.
Well, yeah, and even I'm in the danger zone in a manner of speaking, or at least a potential target, mainly because, well, I would say probably the biggest reason is because I'm anti-war, just like you are. But even though
anti-Trump protesters will be targets too. That's what's terrifying me. Like Portland, ground zero for a bunch of this racial unrest. Of course, Portland's mostly white, but things could change as other groups come in to Portland by freeway or car. And it's seen as some sort of like, I'm concerned that even people that are anti-Trump could be targeted for being white. And there's actually a video of a woman saying that we need to start killing white people of like the last week. And I think she was a teacher at some university. And in addition to her saying that, there's a group called the so-called Real Israelites. And they're the black preachers on the street. I did not mean to generalize. They're a subculture of black preachers that are preaching white genocide, literally, in the street. To the point where like some of their members would get angry and talk about snatching the baby from the white mother. And there's clips of like these videos have like 40,000 views. And they're saying they're the real Jews and everyone else has to die. And they're using the Bible to say it. And they're in Dallas and they're in other major cities, New York. They're in the biggest American cities, confronting white people in the street saying they need to die. And so it's like they're all working on this Archon program, Kyle.
Well, yeah, and wouldn't it be ironic that if they did carry out those wishes of theirs to just go straight up and murder somebody who is Caucasian, that would it be ironic if that same Caucasian individual was actually, as you said, anti-Trump protester of some kind? Wouldn't that be the ultimate irony, at least in some sense, wouldn't it, Alex?
Well, I remember when there was a protest and a woman wearing very sexually provocative clothing of petite size, showing off quite a bit of skin, came at and she was holding a sign saying "Bring back Black Rage," a black marker written on cardboard. And I guess somebody was saying, Black Rage, I guess she's referencing a punk band. I don't know. I don't know if she was referencing a punk band. All I can imagine is a couple black guys having their way sexually with her. That's all I can imagine with this girl. I'm sorry, but she's dressed like a stripper. She's got a sign saying "Bring back Black Rage." Well, what do you mean by that? Be careful what you wish for, because there is a little of that going on too.
Yeah.
As we see videos being propagandized going, well, these are the anti-Trump supporters, as they show 5 black guys pummeling a white Trump supporter. And then they use that for propaganda to act like, wow, all black people are doing this to all Trump supporters. Well, then, Kyle, you think there'd be 100 different videos. But instead, now we live in this world of digital propaganda, where one website that reaches 10 million people in a day can show 10 million people one beating. And so instead of that beating literally just being between those people, it's now victimizing 10 million. 10 million Trump supporters were just beat into the ground by 5 big black dudes. Wow. Lock and load.
Yeah, and see, notice all the focus. Right, and notice all the focus is on things like that, or it's on other things relating to basically what even one guy back in the 1960s called the Society of the Spectacle. There's this huge spectacle that has nothing to do with reality, and whenever there is actual real genuine tyranny that does affect people's lives, whether it is the driver licensure thing, or it's taxation, or it's central banking, or it's the police state more generally, or it's civil asset forfeiture, or dragnet wiretapping by the NSA.
Right, and new listeners have to listen to our Coastal County playlist series.
That too, yes. And so, yeah.
Where were the angry white people then?
Well,
we're not talking about like federal government people. We're talking about people going, no, you're not going to kick us off our land. We're white. We're pride. We're prideful white people. Yeehaw, Donald Trump. But no, I'm not saying I want to see Costilla County overridden with rednecks. What I'm saying is there is a time and place to say no. you're not going to push us out because of our race and our class, because we're poor white people. And what I'm reminding the Trump people is I came to bat for them when Costilla County came after them and kicked them off their land if they didn't have the money for a septic.
Right. It was a property rights
It doesn't
issue.
matter whether it's Sanders or whether it's Hillary. It was mostly Sanders and Trump because I never met Clinton supporters. I just saw them on YouTube. But as far as the people I met or people on Facebook, socially met, digital met, they were Sanders, not Clinton. So just to get that straight. But what's the issue with both the Sanders people and the Trump people? Those women, because I notice a lot of these women that want to get this alpha male thing, but a lot of men too, they're not supporting good men in their community. They're not involved locally. They're giving these men in politics their power and their attention. And one claims to be on the left side, one on the right side. They both claim to love liberty, and they both are making the same mistake. And both these men appear to be jokers, in my opinion. Clowns. Sanders looks like he's got some evil under his bed, actually. And then people are like, well, Sanders is the fucking realest thing. Dude looks like he's foaming at the mouth. His face is turning red. He looks like a fucking little counterfeit, fake, not genuine, okay with drone attacks in the Middle East, not really against the war, just another flavor. He's the Snickers bar with the almonds. He's the healthier version. He's the lesser of the unhealthy Snickers bars, but he's still a Snickers bar. He still is of the Mars Corporation.
Yeah, and that's another reason I don't trust politicians, right? I mean, just an historical note, Bernie Sanders basically did not contest Hillary Clinton's shenanigans when they were going neck and neck in the primaries. Remember, he conceded to her before the DNC. He didn't actually have an ounce of integrity and just challenge it all the way down the line to the national convention, which would suggest that he was really, despite being a democratic socialist of the Scandinavian flavor and everything that means with its minimum wage and so forth, he at least would have had integrity if he had challenged it all the way down the line. But he didn't do that, did he? He conceded before the convention, and that kind of shows you that he literally sold out his own people, which is why that Twitter hashtag called Never Hillary was such a big deal. And I supported those people because I saw that, okay, those people actually are so dedicated to what they honestly thought was their equivalent of a Ron Paul type, arguably, although not quite accurate. That's how they viewed Sanders, and so they were so disgusted with Sanders and how that all ended up that they were saying, no, we're not going to switch to Hillary because the Democratic Party is telling us to. We either get Sanders or we're not voting. And I respect the hell out of those people.
I see parallels with the Sanders and Lavoy Finicum. One on one side, one the other, but they're allegedly the grandfatherly men of reason and experience and wisdom that care about this society and care about this country.
Even though they were both wrong.
They're just different flavors of this grandpa that gives a damn. You know, and I miss my grandpa, but you know what? You know, I'm not gonna look for someone else to replace my actual real grandpa just because he talks like a grandpa on TV. And there's way too much of that going on because people have unresolved family issues. We could talk about that in another podcast, unresolved family issues, and how this leads to archetype worship of these deceiving men in politics when there should be good men in their lives and in their family. They're compensating, and they refuse to admit they're compensating.
Well, you're right. And you know, Finicum and Sanders were both wrong for their own reasons, but as you said, that's a topic for another time. You know, I learned my lesson from Ron Paul. Okay, so I had friends who were Paul bots who were very, very big both in 2008 and 2012. So in a more peripheral way, I've already experienced that. I don't need to go through that again. But unfortunately, some people basically didn't care about Ron Paul or how he got screwed out at the RNC in 2012 in Tampa, Florida. And I think you were there for at least some of that, I think. So, you know,
and the walkout. They staged a walkout, which really it was I forget what they were chanting, but whoever decided to chant doesn't have my vote for nothing. They were just chanting names of states that were disenfranchised. But honestly, I mean, you're dealing with a dumbed down, massive group of people that, first of all, probably had no idea what was going on with Ron Paul being screwed with the delegate vote. So I was there for that. and what you would call the Ron Paul resistance, what was laughable. But I guess that's another podcast for another time. Heaven forbid we mention criminals like Jesse Benton and other strange people that for whatever reason Ron Paul chose to surround himself with. We just don't know.
Yeah, but in any case, in terms of wrapping this up, man, I mean, yeah, the problem is that yes, whenever you have people who are disingenuous activists who promote fake grievances, you're gonna get, like the meme goes, you're gonna have a bad time. And it doesn't really matter whether the particular fake grievance is the Sharia law takeover or white genocide or pick something out of a hat. Hell, I remember the economic collapse thing. Remember? The economy was supposed to collapse in 2010. Gerald Celente told us so. Wait a minute. It's 2017 and I can still use Federal Reserve notes to buy groceries, can't I? Ooh, busted. But still, even the economic...
Right, and if people have been investing heavy in silver gold, I don't know that it's a positive investment. I mean, I guess it's good to have precious metals, but their forecast on those things have been way off.
Yeah. And so, if those earlier doom porn predictions were incorrect, then how incorrect would the white genocide / Sharia law / whatever made up non-conspiracy of the week is, that's not even verifiable or much less bearing its burden of proof, is going to crop up this week. I mean, at this point, dude, I think there's just disingenuous activists promoting fake grievances. In other words, they're just making shit up. They're just straight up lying to people.
Well, this is really important because someone might be able to find out what potential truth is when we were taught to be afraid before. For example, what positive applications of global cooperation do exist? Because it could be argued, this can go on for hours. It could be argued that the Chinese, that's proven. They're firewalling us all off from each other, at least the Americans and the Chinese, to where we don't really talk. We live under these totalitarian tech agreements to prevent really a transfer of knowledge from one culture to another. Only that which they allow through pop culture. That's it. And so there'll be some things they allow from China to the U.S. that goes through the filter. But genuine organic stuff, I don't really think so. I mean, I'd love to know what the best minds of China have come up with regards to unraveling corruption and like their top like mafia families. And oh boy, they don't want us to know that. I think like that's some of the most powerful knowledge that there is, the real elite over Russia and China, and how can we connect them with the West. Let's go forward, though. I'm not totally willing to trust vaccines, but there are some positive applications of vaccines, aren't there not, Kyle?
The science is really just kind of mixed. Some people have individual negative reactions to them, which are provable, and then there's other
obviously
times...
there are different vaccines. We're not going to make this a big vaccine discussion. There are some with the additives. There are some without the additives. And apparently there's the good ones and the bad ones. Potentially correct. At least that's what I'm hearing. But there are some vaccines that like the elite take versus the vaccines that say the people take. But that the elite do take some form of vaccine.
Well, there's all sorts of technologies that are prohibited from being sold on the open market. I mean, anybody who understands copyright law and patent law and trademark law, which unfortunately, oh, by the way, all of that stuff is constitutional. So just because something is constitutional does not therefore mean it is a good thing or economically viable or whatever. But yeah, man, there are certain technologies that are being prohibited by the public because they're being protected by these copyright statutes in the United States Code, Title 17. And that's just straight up what it is. So I wouldn't be surprised if there was a bifurcation of technologies that are reserved to, shall we say, to use the Roman class system, the patrician class, versus the rest of us who would arguably be considered the plebeian class. The patricians get the nicer stuff. Those who falsely imagine themselves to be our rulers get the nicer stuff. And the rest of us little peons down here, not on Mount Olympus, basically get all this weird crap that maybe sometimes works once in a blue moon, but also equally, depending on someone's physiology and to some degree their genetics, might actually cause them to be crippled, because that's happened too. So it's kind of this casino gambling. Like do you know what's in that shot? Do you know if it's made of dog vomit and monkey spit? Have you looked into what's in it? Because I don't know, maybe it's fine, but do you want to like pad your arm a little bit and take that shot? Maybe you should, maybe you don't. But I will say this: if the government ever starts with a forced vaccination thing, like a medical martial law, some people pull it. Now I would suggest that people bring their 45s and see who makes a bigger hole. I mean, that's crap.
Well, in that sense, that's a specific case. I'm merely getting at you have people like Alex Jones that have grossly skewed the facts on certain things. And the idea is to go back and revisit some of those same things that he himself has talked about to separate truth versus fiction.
Well, he's already
So
contradicted
if
himself.
there is, yes, a truth to the idea that not all vaccines are the same, then that goes contrary to a narrative that all vaccines are bad, is what I'm getting at. And so if we look closer at what exactly Alex Jones says, it would be that they're all bad, unless, of course, you buy things from the InfoWars store. And what I'm saying is I'm using that as one example of many. It does not appear to be a fact that all vaccines are bad across the board. Okay, I don't want to get into a 1-hour conversation about vaccines because I'm not into it, and I don't take vaccines. What I'm saying is I am not convinced that all vaccines are bad now, after seeing the behavior of people like him and the other weird shit they bring into it. On top of that, and I believe that there is a more rational approach than the Alex Jones approach to vaccines and relying only on natural things. Again, I already said I don't take vaccines. I don't go to the hospital. But if you see people dabbling in disinformation on one level, everybody should question everything else that they're saying. I think the vaccine thing, ironically, is still at the forefront along with the other things. And so what if there was a need for a vaccine in the future, Kyle? Like in a legitimate case. And we would all become so propagandized, though, that we would never be concerned with our own health because of the things that Alex Jones said.
Yeah, blowback much?
And I'm thinking, let's also jump to other examples other than vaccines, but I'm saying we have been propagandized to view it only in one way without doing our own research.
Right.
To view it as all bad and to not even realize there is such a thing and reports of the elite having their own vaccines without, quote unquote, the additives. So there's actual vaccines, then there's vaccines with additives, mercury and other things, but there are real vaccines without additives. That's all I'm saying. And so if someone knew that and knew there was a differentiation, but see, they're not going to hear that from Alex Jones. It's all one thing. I want to go to another example. Another example of something that Alex Jones has covered for years and years and years. Again, there was some stuff that he covered that was correct. And then somewhere along the way he shifted. I don't follow his current stuff. What he is seen doing is openly admitting he's a transhumanist, which he didn't do before as much. Screaming that he wants to live forever.
Wow, he
screaming
changed
that he
his
wants
mind.
life extension technology.
There's
whole clips of him going in a channel like he's a monster robot, like he's not a human. There are whole on clips where he's going off saying, I want the technology. I want to go off planet. I want to shoot off beyond the stars. He's speaking like a man that wants to jump into a teleport Star Trek thing.
So he's changed his mind about that. He's now completely flipped for the other side.
He doesn't say, it's not, quote unquote, I'm a transhumanist. No. But he just starts going off in these random clips about how he wants the technology to live, quote, forever.
Wow.
He doesn't say, and I'm a transhumanist. But he does say, yes, I want to live forever and go off planet. Spread my seed beyond the stars type of a thing.
See, and
it's like he is himself channeling Nephilim. That's why I say I believe the man's possessed. And I truly believe that. I truly believe it's a fact before us. By his mannerisms are consistent with the personality of a fallen god archetype. Of that which is almost biblical or satanic or demonic. A man of great influence inhabiting a human spirit that just magically has been in a position to reach millions of people every single day, to speak to them and literally enter their dreams. I know I'm off the deep end, but and enter Donald Trump. And now the man that has led so many to the perceived truth, i.e. Alex Jones, has led them into the man's of Donald Trump that is actually going to undo maybe some positive things that have been done in government. I was going to say on the part of Alex Jones, people waking up to government control, waking up to economic issues, waking up to the police state, now undoing that and making all of that popular. So it's almost as if we are living through biblical era days that hasn't, maybe it's been prophesized. I don't know. I don't know where Alex Jones appears in the book of Revelations. But let's just say, what if there was something prophetic where it was like some real end of days shit, right? This guy, Alex Jones, and Donald Trump are playing key roles in a massive destabilization of the entire planet, leading us to a global conflict, like those two individuals. And I'm sorry, folks, if I've gone above your head here, but I mean, think about it. This Alex Jones guy playing this global, like, Satan role. I don't know, Kyle, stop me if I'm starting to sound crazy. Like this it's Lord of the Rings Mordor type character who's like wielding this wand, and he literally speaks like that, like he is a magician, that he waves this wand, and then when you slow it down and he looks like a little goblin. He looks like a little like witchcraft playing goblin. He looks like a black magic witchcraft goblin. Yeah.
Well,
Merlin
he's
playing
become
with magic. He doesn't understand shit. His soul is already gone. So he's like, in my interpretation of the recent videos in DC, he's like unraveling. The man looks like he hates himself, to go further. Like, it's visual in a few snapshots I grabbed. In that video, Alex Jones confronted by X-Fan on this channel, right? That first few seconds of that video, he looks like he hates himself. Because he's being confronted and he's playing the show going, anti-establishment people don't know that Trump is good. Like he knows he has to say that. Somehow he made an agreement he would go to D.C. this week and act a fool. Or was it last week? Like, I don't think, like, he just did too much cocaine last night, like some people think, oh, that dude doesn't look like he's doing too well. Like, somewhere in the agreement of the Alex Jones script plot, he's supposed to go out and make himself and what he represents look crazy. So he sees a Middle Eastern guy, and he asks the Middle Eastern guy if he's with Islamic Jihad. Like, who in their rational mind does that? Unless they're trying to make Americans look dumb so they can be hurt later. I mean, that's my spec. I mean, who does that, though? Because the man has too much intelligence to not realize how he's creating anti-American propaganda.
Well,
And
I mean, the
that's
man's become a bully, unfortunately. If he wasn't already before, but he at least kept a little bit of a lid on it, like with the Austin gun show stunt, which actually John Bush was actually that was his event, along with Catherine Bleich and some other people, all their locals here that were upset about what the Austin Police Department was doing in terms of shutting down gun shows and such. And so, yeah, I mean, the fat man has a habit of doing this. And now
with incidents, Dallas, Texas, 2013, people have to watch that, falsely claiming the police punched him in the stomach. Alex Jones, Michelle Malkin incident, Alex shoving her bodyguard and accusing him of pushing. Incident number 2. And you mentioned the gun show incident. If people watch those 3 incidents in a row, so we have 2010, we have 2006, 2010, 2013. And for the cherry on the Sunday, they got to listen to the Y2K broadcast where he's saying Russia is firing off ICBMs at the United States on December 31st, 1999.
Right, and not only that, but
if they take in all 4 of that, they're going to see a person with multiple personalities who's playing like War of the Worlds type. Let's see if the audience reacts a certain way, or if he's not doing that, showing signs of mental illness and him being used as a tool perhaps by other forces as a man who suffers from schizophrenia. But it's also difficult for me to believe that that's genuine mental illness and that was an accident. It's very difficult for someone to argue to me, Alex, that wasn't staged. Jones was just having a bad day. His wife didn't give him a blowjob that morning. He woke up nuts because he didn't eat breakfast. There's more to why he's doing that stuff.
Well, yeah, and then of course there was the one incident, arguably somewhat recently before the inauguration, where he was like shoving the communist or whatever, and then the cops basically dragged him out or whatever. So even up until recently,
that is one of the most important incidents, yes, where Alex went from calling for a war with the cops and taking big bloody chucks, going back to 2009 and 10. That was a big year for him making fake predictions. There's a video 100 fake predictions of Alex Jones, and most of them were given like in a few days. Remember, like April 2010, not a good time for Alex Jones, the Oracle. not a good time. But that aside, yes, that he came out of the closet as a man with cop protection at the Republican National Convention very recently, as he slammed into a man. And then the cops, a long line of them, 30 seconds later, divided Alex Jones from a group of communists that Alex Jones confronted. A very large group of cops. It was almost like they were dancing together, like a dance show. Like it was an overwhelming show of police for the cameras. Why would Alex Jones show us, the audience, that he was with the police? Unless, like with the cultic symbolism, that was meant to be done in plain sight. I mean, I can't see any argument saying that was not meant to be in plain sight. That doesn't make any sense to me, Kyle. Oh, no, they were just on standby. Alex Jones really wasn't planning that whole thing out. And to show himself for his handlers that he will show in plain sight that he works for them and he's with the police and he's with the establishment.
Well, I mean, the whole thing was kind of suspicious from start to finish. And yeah, you know, I hate to even say this, but I do compliment the one particular communist that was like holding some sort of flag. I thought he showed great restraint when Alex Jones was violating his property rights. And so, I mean, I don't know, man. If I was in that guy's position,
yeah, some of them seem to be aware of what he's doing because some of them were ex-fans. From what I've gathered.
Yeah,
so we may not agree with them for going Black Bloc, but he has tons of Black Bloc ex-fans or current fans.
Yeah.
Why? Because he was doing the police state documentaries. He deliberately marketed himself to them. As we wrap up, we remind the people that are humping the Trump that this Alex Jones dude was calling for a war with the cops a couple of years ago. So, Kyle, we're also reaching out to them to, dude, check this dude Alex Jones out. You do not like the stuff he was talking about a few years ago, meaning you like a flip-flopper. They need to be confronted with their flip-flop loving. Flip-flop lovers?
Well, it's control.
Looks like we got ourselves some flip-flop lovers. No, I can play that fucking, I can wear that straw hat role, too. No, we got some flip-flop lovers. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, it's the controlled schizophrenia one more time. And so this is what happens when you have a betrayal of principle, is that you have nasty consequences like this pretty much constantly. And look, man, I mean, I don't know about anybody else, but I'm just going to speak for myself here. If I was in that young man's position and the fat man did that against me, I would knock him out on his ass. I don't care if I would get hauled away with handcuffs at that point, because if you have people start shoving like that, that's a violation of my property rights. They have initiated the use of force, and so my fists come out. Or elbows, or whatever else. I'm sorry. I mean, there has to be grown-up libertarianism. The grown-up libertarian ethic is that you have to use force to defend property rights. And if so, you have some bully, some coward who wants to do his fake little victim mentality routine of like, oh, I'm a victim as I shove into you, like what leftists used to do, but now Alex Jones is doing it. You know, you knock him out on his butt. I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, it's just, where is the righteous indignation regarding a lot of this agent provocatoring?
First of all, and we are really going to close this time, we could see a high turnover at the Alex Jones Security Department, first of all. We see a rotation of the security guards. In the Alex Jones Confronted by X-Fan video found on this channel, you can see two of his current ones. One of them looks like a reincarnated Viking. Did you catch that one?
Yeah. Okay,
and the other one looks like very short, very militant. You know, it looks like he could wrestle. So very strategic on the part of whoever's designing or, you know, hiring at the Alex Jones Security Department. Have a big, mean-looking Viking dude that might just pull out a friggin' sword, like Conan the Barbarian, you know, dun, 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 dun. And then you got this other dude that could probably grab you in like 1.5 seconds, who's like ex-military, to take down the little guys. You have like one for like the bigger dudes, and then you got one for like the smaller dudes. That's really smart. You don't just want to have a bunch of big dudes. You want to have like some smaller dudes and some bigger dudes for looks, and like another dude that's kind of in the middle. And this other dude came up and he's like, I got this Kit Kat foot thing going on, which I'm sure that's a prank. A guy said there's only 4 of them on the planet that have Kit Kat foot, and he wanted Alex Jones to look into it for him. I mean, nothing legitimate. I haven't looked that up to see if there is a Kit Kat foot. But I'm pretty sure Alex was being pranked at that moment. You could just see like the smaller bodyguard. He's like, shit, I'm not doing my job very well. I gotta keep these freaks away from Alex, because he was hired specifically to keep the freaks away. That's their role. So Alex Jones is playing such an outrageous role. He's not like a real human who's running around with full confidence in his ability, let alone God, because I played that clip of him megaphoning the Bilderberg Group of 2007, and it was a really good, in my eyes at the time and others. Epic, we're standing against you, a beast, you friggin' Bilderberg. But at the back of our mind going, dude, you're just fucking like megaphoning like a building.
Right.
Like you're not really megaphoning the elite, but you're megaphoning a building, and it seems really epic. It seems really David and Goliath. It was down to the fine detail of his jacket. It was down to the fine detail of the rim of the megaphone that was handed to him by some other people that were there, that was calibrated to be like extra, extra strong, like, a megaton megaphone, 10 times the power of a regular megaphone. At least that's what I recall him saying about the megaphone at the time. So, he really created this whole David and Goliath imagery, and it worked. And they played it up like, he's confronting the real elite, and the real elite are cowering at the sound of Alex Jones, not laughing, hysterically, as they snort cocaine on the backs of strippers, as they laugh about Alex Jones, the great deceiver. And now in hindsight, no doubt that was their mindset. Look at that maniac down there, make us like the evil of the world, while we're just like custodians of something so much greater than the Bilderberg Group.
Well, yeah, and very last thing I say, I promise, is that imagine if you were the evil people in power. You look out your window and you see a big cardboard protest sign, people placard waving. You see these cardboard protest signs, you chuckle inwardly, and then you just very simply go back to plotting how you can profit from murdering more people.
Right. As you see the massive distraction. Well, we're going to keep covering that, and we'll probably continue doing these weekly and monthly. And I know there's not enough people that are talking about these things. And the fact is, not enough people can handle the social pressure. And the fact is, I've already handled the social pressure of being against Obama in a Obama stronghold. Ironically, so has Kyle Rearden, who happens to live in Austin, Texas. And he has resisted and been kind of a political minority, I guess, even though there is more liberty thinking there, but a city like Austin is similar to Portland, Oregon. So, yeah, Kyle, thanks for coming on. We'll definitely cover more soon.